10:35. Let's have some fun. Over $1 billion is expected to be legally wagered on this year's Super Bowl between the Bengals and the Rams. And a lot of those dollars are going to be put on something called prop bets. This might be new to a lot of people in Connecticut, considering how new sports gambling is. So joining us to talk more about that is Ryan Marchese from Fanduel. Ryan, thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. How are you?
Absolutely. Thank you, Tim. I'm doing great. It's obviously a very exciting time, one of our busiest weeks here in the sports book, and obviously this biggest sporting event of the year. So we're extremely excited. Thank you for having me.
Yes, and this is one of those times, like maybe March Madness, where a lot of people who wouldn't normally think about sports or bet on sports starts getting into the action because of the variety of bets you can make. Now, getting into what you can and can't do with Connecticut, we'll get to that in a second. Talk about some of the crazier prop bets that are out there that people may not even know about.
Absolutely. Yeah, for those who aren't familiar with prop bets, they're essentially another option to wager on a game outside of your traditional, who's going to win the game or by a point spread. A lot of prop bets surround, the performance of a player or a team. So, will there be a defensive touchdown? How many yards is Matt Stafford going to throw, or Joe Burrow? Who's going to score the first touchdown, the last touchdown, and so on. A lot of fun ones out there.
Yeah, and some of those are essentially betting on very unlikely events, because that in turn could make you a whole lot of money. Can you talk to me about maybe which types of those prop bets are more popular than others?
Yeah, so I actually think this is an interesting one as well. So, all the trick plays that usually surround a Super Bowl that we see. So there's one here that we have that's will a quarterback have a reception in the game? So if you bet yes on that, you're getting almost 8-1. And I have a feeling, with these young quarterbacks and young coaches as well, that we might possibly see that happen. And people are showing an interest in that as well.
And New England Patriots fans, there's a lot up here. They remember a certain Super Bowl where that happened with the Eagles, and it did not turn out so well. Now,
exactly.
I was not aware of this, but there are some bets that are more fun to talk about, but you can't really make them in Connecticut just due to the state laws. But where did it start to come around that you could bet on more abstract things like the coin toss or how long the national anthem is going to go?
Yep. So those are more novelty bets that got started before sports betting was regulated and legalized in the United States. So you'll see some of those on offshore bets. Where we have here in Connecticut, we still have, over 500 prop bets that Fanduel is doing here. So a tremendous amount to still wager on. But when it comes to some of those pop culture bets, as we call them, those are not regulated in the States here at the moment.
Well, they are fun to talk about. Do you guys at Fanduel, do you do any sort of cross-sport betting? Because sometimes those can get a little zany as well.
Yep, exactly. So you guys do have some cross sports bets. So, you can do, LeBron James is playing that day possibly. You can say, how many yards is Cooper Kupp going to have in the Super Bowl versus how many points and rebounds total is LeBron James going to have that night as well. So those are fun as well, and we're seeing a tremendous amount of action on those.
The thing with sports books, you guys are absolutely on the ball because you have to be. That's how you make money. And when you're doing just simple bets like point spreads and over-unders day in, day out, you get that. But when you get to these crazier cross-sport bets, I imagine those are offered less frequently. So A, how do you come up with the ideas for them? And B, how do you make sure they're accurate enough for you guys to make money on them?
It's a lot of trial and error. We do have our risk and trading team, which is great. And, tons of research that goes into this, some analytics on the back end. They have so many modules that's completely. But for that, it's trial and error. If we see somebody come in and place a large wager on, like I said, as the example, LeBron James to score more points than Cooper Kupp reception yards, it's something that we would obviously take into consideration that we may need to revisit it and move the line.
Yeah, and they seem to be very, very popular just because even though they're not considered the novelty bets, they're novel to a lot of people, especially here in Connecticut. So we'll see just how much wagering there is. Ryan, thank you for taking the time to join us today. We do appreciate it.